Hello. Welcome to the workshop. Those of you who follow me from my main channel will recognize this as the workshop where I do my day job, which is building professional puppets. Yes, you heard that right. If you're new, that's what I do for a living. 9 to 5, 5 days a week. The frog back there is a bit of a hint as to what I do, but that's not why we're here. We are here today. This just so happens to be a convenient workspace, and I also have the multicam setup where I do my weekly live streams where I do my day job. And therefore is also a very convenient space for me to do this sort of thing, which is new. Those of you who listen to the podcast, Pixels and Puppets, will know that as well as being a lifelong puppetry enthusiast, I am a lifelong computer and tech enthusiast, and I have recently got into the world of retro computing, or I should say back into the world of retro computing, because I started there because I was a kid when all of this started, and I have done the thing I think a lot of people do when they first get into retro computers, and that's they get the first computer they ever owned again. And for me, that is, let's go to the overhead cam here, the big reveal. Of course, the beloved TI-99 4A, the DeLorean of computers and the first 16-bit home computer. Possibly. There's some wiggle room there as to whether this is truly 16-bit or not. There's a debate. However, that's not what we're here to do today. What we are here to do today is basically do a teardown of this. I got to do some work on this. I will preface this by saying I don't know what I'm doing. So that's kind of one of the reasons why I'm shooting this video, is because since I am new to this, and this is the kind of thing that you do end up having to do when you get into retro hardware. Sorry, I'm trying to do as little editing as possible in post, so this might be a little bit rough around the edges. I just want to get some guides up here so that I can see. I've only got one monitor in the shop, and so I have to sort of fit everything I need to see on one monitor that's mounted on the wall over here. Can be a little tight, but I think I'm good. I just need to see what OBS is seeing, and then also see the reference material I'm going from. So we're doing a teardown, and also I'm doing a video chip replacement. So the video chip that's in the TI-99 4A, I don't remember the model number off the top of my head. It's a very common video chip. It's in the ColecoVision. It's a whole bunch of like 80s home computers and consoles. And it is also not good with, because it only does analog output. It was never meant to be put on like a digital display. That wasn't even a thing yet. So the signal that comes out of it is notoriously noisy and bad and ghosty. And so when you try and convert that into a digital format to go onto a modern monitor of some kind, it just doesn't look good. And there's nothing you can do about that. There are a number of solutions for what to do about that, and that's what we're doing today. We're doing one of the several solutions. There are different ways to approach it than this, but this is the one that I was able to get, because a lot of these things are like custom chips that people literally make in their basement and stuff like that, so they're not easy to get all the time, but I was able to get this one. So this is what we're doing. We are doing a video chip swap from the chip that's in here to this. This is the Pico9918. It's one of the solutions. Now this is based on the Raspberry Pi Pico, and it basically just sort of grabs a video signal, puts it through a kind of interpretation layer, and then spits it out. Show you here what we're doing. We're basically sticking a VGA connector into this thing. We're making it so this can have a digital video output, and there's a whole bunch of fancy magic that goes on inside this thing to make that possible. I don't really understand any of it, so I'm not going to try and speak to it. They have GitHub. It's an open source project. By all means, go there and read up on it, because it's very interesting, and I don't understand any of it. All I know is this make video better. So that's what I'm doing. Now, I own, thankfully, two TI-99 4As, both of which are in working condition. This is the one that I have streamed with. This is basically my working unit. The other one is mounted on the wall as a display unit because look at this. How could you not? It's a beautiful object. This is an object of art and veneration. The reason that this is my working one and the other one is mounted on the wall is this one's in a little bit worse cosmetic shape. The chassis is a little bit more beaten up. I could clean it up, stuff like that. And I will be, doing a little bit more surface cosmetic work on it eventually. But to start with, we need to get like a good video signal out of this because I do occasionally do some streams with this. And so what we need to do is get in here and do that. And I thought, while I'm doing that, I'll shoot a video of me tearing this down because there is one other that I have found, and it was just a complete fluke, because I searched forever to see if anybody's done a video teardown, like a step-by-step of this, and I didn't find anything. And then after I decided to shoot this video, the algorithm eventually spit me out one. I will link to that as well because it is very helpful and it's very well produced. Better than this, but we're gonna do what we can because I think a lot of people are like me, don't really know a lot. Now I've built computers before. I've been building my own PCs for a long time. This is a whole different beast. These computers were never meant to be user serviceable or anything like that. This is not the nice friendly thing that we who build PCs are used to. Hey, we'll see that once we get in here. So yeah, now the other side of this is I have done a practice run on my other TI, which is the cosmetic one. So it kind of was okay if I broke something. So I have had one TI apart and pulled the chip and replaced the chip and it was all fine. I have been following there is one written step-by-step guide that I have found. There may be more, please let me know if there are. On arcadeshopper.com. Yes, .com. Thank you very much, Arcade Shopper. That is very, very useful. And that's what I will be doing today. I will be following along step by step with that. Now, since I have done this once before, I feel relatively confident that I can do this without breaking anything. We'll see. The other side of this coin is that I'm not sure what we're going to find when we get in here. I haven't had this one apart yet. So we'll see. As we know, those of us who have worked on electronics for quite some time, I mean, this is like an eBay purchase, right? I have no idea what the history of this thing is. I don't know where it came from. And I don't know where it's been stored for the past 40 years, So I fear things like, well, there are certain forms of insect life that really love to get inside electronics and just kind of live there. And then they die there. And so you end up finding, little graveyards and such, which is appropriate if you are questioning. Yes, I am an aging goth, or as we like to say, elder goth, because it sounds cooler. So I'm going to be completely ruining my nail polish on this job, but that's okay because it's time this stuff will come off anyway. So we can do a time lapse of what do Kevin's nails look like by the end of this. So anyway, we need to get in here. So I'm going to do this hopefully methodically. I have a piece of paper and a pen here, and as the screws and the bits come out, I'm going to put them on the paper and do this in sequence and mark what they are, because I will forget, because I'm old and forgetful. So hopefully we'll get through this without breaking anything. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put the Pico aside. And the other thing is, now this isn't a great, this is fine for like an overview and stuff, but we need to be able to sort of see what I'm doing. For that, this camera, which is just a webcam on a little handheld tripod, this is going to get a bit shaky cam, so I apologize. But the nice part about this is we can kind of get down and actually see detail. Now, this is a Logitech webcam, and those of you who are familiar with the Logitech webcam family know that the autofocus is terrible and unreliable, and often will focus on the thing that isn't in the foreground. So if that goes weird, I do have the camera controls up here. I can kind of focus in on it. Hopefully it won't. I have noticed that particularly on this work surface, the autofocus just goes buggy because it doesn't know what to focus on because there's just so many lines and so much contrast, right? So hopefully with the computer in front of it, it'll be okay. I also can adjust the angle, but that's where it gets really shaky, Cam, so I'll try and do that as little as possible. But yeah, it is what it is. It's better to see the stuff than not see the stuff, I think. But we're gonna start in this view. Here's the little handheld camera. I'll just move this off to the side. So let's just go and get into it. I'm also gonna grab a throat lozenge because I'm gonna be talking a lot, and we probably want to actually hear my dulcet tones as I do that. So you give the crinkly noises. Are you a fisherman's friend? Okay. So the very first thing, now since this case is already kind of grungy and scuffed up, I'm not going to worry too much about scuffing it. If you are working on a TI, it's a good idea if you're going to turn it upside down, just put like a towel or something on the surface just so you don't scratch up the nice brushed aluminum, but I'm not going to worry about that personally. So the very first step is on the back here. Actually, no, this is, I'm already jumping ahead a little bit. The power button. Where are we here? There we are. The power button, this here, that's the first thing that comes out. And all you do to get that, and actually let's see if we can go right to the terrible cam and see if we can get a shot of this. Wow, that contrast is really high, so you probably can't see it too well. Oh, that's not too bad. We're just gonna pull this straight out. And it just kind of slots in, so you just wanna give it a good see. It's coming right out. See, no problem. No, it's not. Why isn't that coming out? Oh, I actually had the unit turned on. You want to turn it off. This is where Kevin ruins his nails. Okay, actually, let's go to the top cam. Of course, it's being difficult out of the gate. What, did you think this was going to be easy? Come on. You don't really have to do this. You can open the case up, and then this will kind of flop around. Why don't we get a spudger? Everybody loves a good spudging. Let's see if we can spudge this sucker. Get a little spudger. Nice little spudging. Start the video. Pop. Out you come, out you come, let's go. There we go, I got it. I got it, so there we go. It just pops right out. Do note that I'll show up a close with this when it goes back in. There is a very specific way you have to put that back, but that's the first thing that's going on the piece of paper there. I'll mark it momentarily. But so after you struggle to get the power button out, that's when you do the 7 screws. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I thought they said 7. Oh yes, 6, 7. There's 4 up at the top and 3 along the bottom. So I'm gonna stand up for this so you won't see me in the face cam here, because I do actually have to see what I'm doing, but we'll just get those screws out. And they are Phillips head, so not a problem. They are, some of the, in between the back, they're sunken down a little bit, so make sure you have a nice good long driver. We'll put these on our paper and hope they don't roll away. That's a little bit off camera, isn't it? You down there? There, kind of. I have limited space here. I can zoom this camera out a little bit. Maybe we should see if we can do that. No, I can't. This is zoomed out as far as it can. Okay, never mind. See, I'm totally prepared. I'll probably fast forward through some of this. I'm trying to do as little editing as possible. I want these videos to kind of go fast because I don't have a lot of time for editing, so. Because this is just a hobby. I got a day job and it's puppets. Yes, it is as weird as it sounds. No, this one doesn't want to come out. this screwdriver isn't overly magnetic. A little bit magnetized, but not terribly. I think that might be the problem. Let me see if we got a more magnetized driver here. The good folks at iFixit, I think, are pretty good at that. Let's see if we can get that out this way. There we go. And some more like it. Of course, the screw goes flying because what's not going to go wrong, hey? Okay, that one. That's too far down in there. Needs a longer driver. Actually, off the camera. There we go. Thank you to the nice folks at Stream Tunes for the music. They are a free service that has licensed to stream and video produce without the need for royalties. Music, which is good because nobody likes DCMA takedowns. Okay. So now that we're here, let me just make sure I've got the Arcade Shopper guide up here. With the handy pictures that are hot linked directly to the JPEGs. Nice. Good Web 1.0 here. Yep, that looks good. Okay, you are now ready. I'm going to quote the Arcade Shopper. You are now ready to remove the bottom of the console. All internal parts are fastened to the top of the console. Okay, so this bottom shell can just come right off. So, in theory, let's just see how that goes. Huh? Did I miss one? No, I did not. Okay. Of course, you gotta be careful around the expansion port. That seems to be what's holding on here. Come on. Hey, there we go. Okay, let's see what we got here. Some dust, that's fine. This is a little misaligned. This little heat shield or something. It's maybe even an RS shield. There's something here. There's some kind of rubber pad. What is that pressing down on this? These wires here. Oh, I see. This is for the power supply. Maybe some kind of plastic tab or something. I'm not sure what that's from. That's like from a piece of clothing or something. Who knows? Golly, I think this thing's got a bit of a history. Interesting, this is taped down. On my other unit, this was not taped down. This is the power supply wires here. So that looks okay. We'll just set this aside. I don't know why that's misaligned. It doesn't seem to be on the screw. It actually seems to be glued down. I'm not sure that was there on my other TI as well. Oh well. We'll just put this aside. We're here. Now that we're in here, are the power supply, which is this board right here. This is the front. Here's where the switch is. There's the LED, and this is the back. So the wires for the power supply go over the RF shield here, and then this just kind of sits in a little slot. This is the connector for the power supply. So you can just kind of take that out. I'm gonna take this tape off as well, which looks surprisingly new. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody has been in here already, which may be a good thing because it means we may not have any nasty surprises. And it does work, like I say, so. So the next thing we have to do is take the power supply out. And that's three screws. Let me just double check. You are now ready to Next, remove the power supply is fastened by 2 screws as shown in the arrows in the picture above. Let me just have a look at that. Oh, I see. I was looking at the wrong picture. Of course I was. I will link to the Arcade Shopper Article. Oh yes, 2 screws. You can see them right here. So there are 2 screws right here. Those have to come out. So let's do that. Oh, you know what I should do first? Be organized, like I said I was going to do. Forgive me. I know I'm probably also getting my head in the picture occasionally. So I don't know. Enjoy that, I guess. So we're going to go collect all these screws together. This is obvious what it is, so I'm not going to worry about that. But we're going to put a little circle here. We know that this is step 1. We'll call these case screws, and we will say that there are 7 of them. All right. I know it's hard to read that. Also, the Stream Tunes credits are in the way, but this is how I just try and keep everything kind of organized, so I don't forget. And when we put it back together, we're just going to work backwards through the steps. And so this will be step 3, which is removing the power supply. So there's 2 screws for that. You kind of have to do this level organization for particularly vintage computers, as I am given to understand, because, like I said, it's not, some things aren't standardized or use like weird hardware parts that aren't normally used in computer things anymore. So we'll just put a little circle there. We'll go 2. Get right like this. Power supply times 2. So now there's going to be a connector here that we have to disconnect once we get the screws out. And it's this white connector right here. So this is going to be kind of wrapped around a little tab here. I wouldn't want to pull that out quite yet. But this little white clip, maybe we can get the close-up cam in here. Let's see if we can accommodate that, just so I can show you this white clip. Kinda. Here. This tripod's a bit fiddly, unfortunately. Okay, so see this white clip right here? That's what we have to get out. It's got a little tab on the front. So we just want to kind of squeeze that tab and pop that out. So now the power supply, okay, the power supply is free. So we will set that aside. I'm not going to like number this because it's pretty obvious what it is. Be careful you don't bend the LED. The LED is kind of at a sort of curved angle here. Be careful you don't bend that. Here's the actual power switch. Note which position it's in. And this is what the plastic power switch kind of sits around, and it sort of hooks onto it, and that's what switches the computer on and off. So be careful you don't break the actual power switch, because then this won't work. And you'll have to try get in there and do it manually, which would suck. So avoid that. Okay, now that we're there, here we go. Power supply is out, and we are ready to proceed. Now, this is actually in better shape than the other TI I took apart. The other TI, this is the RF shielding. So yeah, let's break that down. First of all, this is where the motherboard lives, and this is the RF shielding around the motherboard. You don't, strictly speaking, need these anymore, because this was designed for like RF modulator isolation, because this would interfere, like radio waves would come out from the TV and interfere with your TV. That's not really an issue anymore. And I know a lot of people, particularly in the Commodore world, these things are always just a pain, and they always rust up. And yeah, so you can just get rid of them. In the case of the TI, parts of it are structural, so I'm going to keep it on. But it isn't strictly, from a mechanical standpoint, it isn't strictly necessary. But this is the keyboard here. We're not going to be removing that. That's going to stay where it is. I'm trying to do as little as I possibly need to. But we are going to take out take off the RF shielding, take the motherboard out, and then we have to take the RF shielding off. So let me get over here to our friends at Arcade Shopper. Okay, now you are prepared to remove the motherboard and keyboard, although we are only removing the motherboard. We're gonna skip over keyboard part. This is where, okay, so we need to, what's gonna happen is we're gonna take the screws out for the motherboard kind of casing here. That's gonna come out and it will be connected by the ribbon cable to the keyboard. That we do have to take off. There is a connector that you can pull off. It's a little, the cable's quite short, so you gotta be careful. But I'll show that once we get in here. So I'm pretty sure that's, the Arcade Shopper tutorial assumes you're taking off the keyboard as well. Okay, motherboard held in place by 3 screws as shown in the black arrows. Thank you, you did color code it. Much appreciated. Gotcha, okay. So I've got this upside down from the Arcade Shopper. So the Arcade Shopper has the front facing you. Let me just put this that way so I can follow along easily. So 1, 2, that's down in this little hole here, and then 3 over here. I seem to have another one. Oh, no, actually that is connected. Oh, you know what? This is part of the expansion thing. I think that's next. We're jumping ahead. Let's not do that. We'll take off the ones that the Arcade Shopper tutorial says to take off, which is this one, and this one. So we will do that. This is going to be step 3. And that's another reason why I'm organizing it like this, because all of these screws should be the same. Okay, and we will indicate what this is. So this is, oops, I always do that. 3, go, Mobo case. My new band name. 3. Now, is this going to come out, or do I still have to? Because this seems like it's attached over here. Yeah, this is attached to this power switch here. Let me just read ahead a little bit before I go barreling on. Forgive the pause. Yeah, they don't indicate, I mean, it's in the picture, but they don't indicate that screw anywhere. I swear I did this before. All right, well, I'm going to improvise a little bit because this RF shielding here is connected with this screw on the power switch. It has to come out in order to get this component out. That much is obvious. Oh, you know what? Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it lifts the whole thing lifts out. Never mind. You were right all along, Arcade Shopper. Forgive me for ever doubting you. It is just kind of seated in there. Quite sturdy, which is a good thing. The whole thing, so it's It is mounted on some little pegs here. Let's see if we can get a tight shot of that from our annoying close-up cam. You can autofocus, come on, don't do this to me. So this little peg right here, see how it kind of just lifts off there? So be aware of that. He says like he knows what he's doing. Let's see. Now what's going to happen? This isn't going to come out easily because it is still attached to the keyboard. But we will take care of that in a moment. Where is it attached? I see. Okay. So this attaches to the keyboard. This is going to be really hard to shoot. Let's see if we can get it. That's not too bad. So here is the attachment to the keyboard. Very short cable. Oh, that's there. You can see it pretty good there. So this connector here, you should just be able to pull down. It's got a whole bunch of pins. You might be back. Boom, there we go. Okay, now it's free. That's the motherboard for the TI-99. This is the brain of the entire operation. And now we can see what we're actually dealing with. Let me just set this aside. We'll take a look at the case here. Just to give it a little visual inspection, this is actually surprisingly clean inside. This is, internally, this is in better shape than my my cosmetic TI. I should swap them around. Have one really beat up one. The keyboard on the other one, the Alpha Lock key sticks, and I really didn't, like, it's probably a fairly simple repair, but I really didn't feel like pulling it out. Oh yeah, this is the other thing. The other half of the power switch is right here, and this just kind of comes out. This is going to fall out, so be aware of that. This also has to go on in a very specific orientation, which I'll show when we put it back together. But I'm going to put this over here with the external part of the power switch. But yeah, it's not bad at all. Obviously, there's some dust, but pretty good. Pretty good. Another reason why I use this as my kind of working machine is the keyboard is just a little more springier and feels a little bit better. But yeah, a little clean in there. Just blow that out with some air, and I think we're in good shape. So I'm going to take this. We're done with this now. So I'm going to put this aside and find someplace safe to do that. The floor is not a safe place. Excuse me for a moment. I'm going to go and put this in the other room. We'll see if the microphone can pick it up, because I'm actually got a wireless mic, so we'll see. I'm in the living room now, putting down, I don't know why I'm describing this to you. I put the keyboard and top case on the dining room table just to get it out of the way for safekeeping. And here we are with our glorious brain of the TI-99 4A. Now, the thing is, we've got the cartridge connector here, and this is quite dusty. Although my other TI was extremely rusty. There was rust all over it. The RF shielding, which is fairly common, I am given to understand. Thank you, Jamie, my friend Jamie, who those of you who listen to the podcast will know. Jamie's done this kind of thing way more than I have. So he was kind of giving me some help on the Discord the other day. So let's see exactly what we are supposed to do now. We are now ready to remove the shielding from the motherboard. The first step is to remove the cartridge extender. It just pulls out. So that's this thing. This is slotted. So this just goes punk, and it just pulls right out. And that's easy. And it's pretty obvious the way it goes back in. I'm going to get a little bit of like a microfiber cloth and some rubbing alcohol, because this is pretty grungy. And I want to clean this off before we put it back in. So I'll edit this bit out. Oh, right, here we are. I've got some rubbing alcohol. and a cloth, and I'm just gonna clean off this grungy cartridge extender because it sure does need it. Oof. Just caked on there. Very, very, very grungy. Got 40 years of dust built up, so of course it is. Okay, that's much, much better. Let's go back to the top cam here. Put this aside and we'll try not to spill the rubbing alcohol everywhere. There's also a whole bunch of dust that's kind of caked all over this, so let me just give that a quick once over, just so it's not all gross and getting all over my fingers and stuff. Just a little wipe. And this is just rubbing alcohol, so this won't do anything terrible. It will evaporate before it has a chance to do anything terrible. Okay, that's better. And there's this side. This side's not too bad. Yeah, this is in surprisingly good shape. So I know one thing. I'm not sure what order that Arcade Shoppers has to do this in, but I know one thing for sure we're gonna have to do is, and that's easy and it doesn't really matter what order we do it in. These two things here, these are just like metal clips that kind of hold it together, but they're just on a spring tension holds them on, so you can just kind of pull them off. There are little guides, or at least one of them has a little guide about where they go, but these just kind of sit in there. There's nothing like mechanically holding them together, so we can just pull these off. This one's got a little, this keyed, it's got a little guide there, so that's good. Come on, baby. There we are. Yeah, now it does separate a bit. This is kind of what's holding the whole thing together. So the other thing we have to do, what's next is the sidecar expansion. Yes, on the end of the motherboard, you will notice a copper shield here, because this is what we're talking about. Hey, finally a good shot from this camera. So yes, this is the bit, this copper shielding here is what we're going to be dealing with next. On the end of the motherboard, some motherboards use 4 screws, while some only use 2. The one that they used in Arcade Shopper only had 2. So they will remove all screws holding on the shielding. What have we got? We've got 2 little tiny screws. Oops, sorry, that's off camera. There we are. 2. He had to make a puppet reference. He's the puppet guy. 2 screws that are holding that together. So go back here just so I can. I'm trying to keep that on camera. I'm gonna mess it up. Oh, first, put the rubbing alcohol away, Kevin. Hey, Kevin, that's a good idea. Why don't I do that? You're welcome, Kevin. Thank you. Okay. So let's take these through very, very small screws, so be careful. So far we haven't had to use anything other than Phillips. If I remember correctly, I think it's all Phillips head, so. And be careful because this will kind of fall off. Let's see, can we do this? It's going to be helpful. Oops, sorry. So this just kind of comes off, question mark. What's holding that on? Oh, I see. It's kind of like these little clips here. See, so there's slots into those little clips. So I guess you have to lift up. That's not going to come out until we actually take off the rest of the RF shielding. So just leave that kind of flopping around for the moment. It'll probably fall off at some point. So let's see what's next. Oh, what's next is you should label these like you said you were going to. I'm a total professional, folks. What can I say? Like, this is the first time I've shot anything even remotely like this, so cut me some slack. All right, so this is, what do we have? 4, sidecar, copper. Thanks to. Okay. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba. Be careful with those screws, particularly when reassembling, as you can easily strip them, and they are very small, and they're also screwed in quite tight. So yes, be careful that you don't strip those. To finish removal of the shielding, you will need to remove 3 bolts. So these are nuts and bolts. They do have small lock washers, so be sure to keep an eye out for them when you remove the nuts. Be sure, this is important, be sure to notice the direction that the bolts are inserted, as on some motherboards. If you put them back in upside down, the case will hit them and it will not go all the way together. So this is very important. So it's 3, right? I think I can see the 3. All 3 of ours happen to go in the same direction, and that was different on my other TI, so they are quite correct that you do have to notice what direction they're going in. So they are, in this case, here, here, and here. There are 2 long ones and 1 short one. In my case, they're all going in the same direction. They're all going pointed to the top. You notice this is the top because this is where the expansion port is for the cartridges. So that's easy to remember, thankfully. But on my other TI, one of these was going in the other direction. Now, I suspect it was probably this one because this is the short one, and it probably doesn't matter what direction it goes in. It's the 2 long ones on the side here that you can kind of see that in this camera. These are quite long and they poke out in the bottom, so I can see how if these went in the other way around, the case just wouldn't fit together anymore. So be aware of that. I'm just going to remember that, or I'll mark it down when I take the screws out, but be aware of that. So yeah, we're going to take these off, taking care to not lose the retaining nuts here. Thankfully, these aren't screwed in very tight, so I'm just holding on to the bottom, to the nut on the bottom here, and we're just going to take these off at the same time, very gently. That's a long. Look how long that one is. It's a big one. We landed just a big one. Oh yes, there we go. There is also a washer, a little locking washer on just between the nut and the casing. So that's what the helpful folks at Arcade Shopper were going on about. So don't lose that. I suspect it's not a huge deal if you misplace it. Also, has quite an easy replacement, but why do that if you don't have to? Okay, there we go. I've got the little retaining washer, so we'll just put that with this one. It is pretty obvious where the long ones go and where the short one goes. So make a note of that if you like, but it's really quite obvious. There's only like one position for a short one that makes sense. It's over here by the power switch. Or is that the power switch? No, that's the video out. Or no, that's the joystick jack. My bad. Okay. So we've got all of our little locking washers, all of our bolts, all of our nuts. Say that again. So, step 5. And not even sure what to call this. RF bolts. Nuts. Washers. Times 3. Too long. And I'm just going to remember that they all face the top side. So I believe now we're ready to take the RF shielding off. Yeah, looks like we are. So this should just, like a sandwich, come apart. Yep, there we go. It just lifts right off. That's surprisingly clean. I'm pleased. There isn't even really any rust on there. It's a little bit of scuffing and a little bit of, wear and tear. This is kind of great because a lot of these are finger marks. You can see, who knows, are these 40-year-old finger marks from the people at the factory who assembled this? That's kind of wild to think about. So now this copper shielding, once this comes out, this should just sort of slide out. So be careful not to lose that because it will flop around loose. There are 2 little clips, like I showed, that's inside the bottom of the RF shielding, but there we go. Wow, that is in much better shape than my pretty TI. So there we go. There's the RF shielding. Now, inside here, let me just set this aside. So put it this way because this is kind of the way it goes on. This is a little metal block. It's a heat sink, and the heat sink goes over. This is the video chip that we are going to be replacing. There is some ancient, gunked on, caked on, fossilized thermal compound here. On my other one, I cleaned this off and put on some new thermal compound. I'm not going to worry about that here because this chip is actually just getting replaced completely. So I'm not going to worry about that. I will clean off the heat sink, but that's momentarily. So there we go. That is it. So there it is. Naked and unashamed, the TI-99 4A with all of its lovely bodge wires. Have a look at the capacitors because those are always the things you got to worry about. Everything looks fine. Doesn't look like anyone, at least to my amateur eye, doesn't look like anyone has been doing any repair work in here. So this looks all original to me. No corrosion, no gunk, no nothing. Looks like we're in pretty good shape. I like it. Okay. So here we go. This is kind of moment of truth time. It's one of several upcoming moments of truth. So here we go. This is, with all the gunked on, fossilized thermal compound, this is the video chip. And this is where the autofocus does not cooperate, of course. Let's see, maybe I can dial in the focus here a little bit better. I knew I was going to have to do this. Come on. You can do it. I believe in you. Probably should. That's a Logitech camera. Hey, oh, it's not too bad. Okay. So yeah, this here is the video chip. And so this is thankfully socketed. I don't even know how to solder, so we don't have to solder anything. That's one of the reasons I feel that this may be a success. Is this is socketed, so you just have to get this out of the socket and put the other one in. The thing about that is I'm pretty sure I know what direction it should go in, but the documentation is for people who know what they're doing, which is not me. So hopefully I won't mess this up. I've gleaned from the pictures from the developer that the way that the Pico goes in is with the actual cable pointing down, and so it kind of snakes around and goes out, but we'll see. Where'd my spudger go? We're gonna need to spudge. There's the spudger. Okay, the spudger's got some gunk on it. Let's get the gunk off the spudger, and we will commence spudging. Start your spudging engines. Let me just clear off some surface here. We'll see if we can get a nice close-up shot of this spudging. This is where the rubber hits the road, folks. Now we're getting real. Let's see, what's the autofocus going to do here? Nothing good. Manual it is. Wow, there's like, it's like a hair. There we are. We're leaving it there. That's as good as it gets. Okay. The gentle spudging is what's called for here. I'm just gonna, because this is, you know, ancient and fossilized. So we're just gonna get in here. Trying to do this and keep it on camera at the same time. Not easy. Don't want to bend any pins. The one side up, I'm gonna have to turn this around. Forgive the bad camera angle, because it's more important that I don't break this. I can actually see a little bit of gunk in here. All right, you know what? I'm gonna go to the top cam. And no, this is not the best for this, but I need to see what I'm doing. There we go. There we go. All right. Oh, it just leapt out. It came right at me. It wanted to get out of there. It was like 40 years. Oh, I'm so done. I need a break. So there we go. There is the original. I can't remember. I could clean this off and we can read the actual chip number. It's a famous chip. Now I'm curious. He's gonna do it. Why would you waste time like this? I still got some rubbing alcohol here. Let's just see if we can clean this off enough. Hey, to read the thing. Kinda. I'm getting part of it. TMS9918ANL. There we go. Nice. That's actually coming off pretty clean. There's the chip. I know the focus is bad. That's not too bad right there. There we go. That's the video chip. This is in a lot of 80s machines. Like I said, including the ColecoVision. We're going to set this aside because we know it works. And we are going to get out. This is the next moment of truth. Let me just make sure my fingers are clean from the 40-year-old thermal compound. What could go wrong? All right, we're getting out the Pico99. This is why it's called the 9918, Kevin. You didn't notice that before? 9918, yep, sure enough. That's the magic number. Okay, now, here's where it gets even more interesting, if you can believe that. Because the way this is put together, I'm not going to take this off quite yet because I don't want to bend any pins, but here's a little board right here. This goes in with the cables facing this way, I am given to understand. I'm sure somebody might be yelling at their screen right now about pinouts and things like that. Hopefully I'll get it right. If I get it wrong, we'll sure know. The magic smoke even may come out. Now, where this connector with the VGA port here is going to live is the next question. And that's going to depend on, I'm going to do a little bit of a case mod, I think. In the back here of the TI, the case actually has a bunch of vents, a bunch of slats. Hopefully, I'm going to try and not take any of them out. All I want is to get these wires out the case. So maybe I'll be able to do that without doing any surgery on the case. We'll see. That's next. Thankfully, these wires are socketed, so I can just pull this out. In fact, let's just do that now because it seems prudent. We'll move that connector aside. Hopefully it only goes in one way. Is it keyed? It is, question mark. Oh, that's a fairly easy thing to look up. I think it's, yeah, okay, yes. It only goes in one way, thankfully. Otherwise, I'll be reviewing the video to see which way it was originally. So we know that the socket goes to the bottom. So here we go. It's the first time I've actually had this thing fully open. It's very exciting. It's my new wallpaper. The guts of a TI-99 4A. Okay, let's have a look at our little darling here. Look at how pretty that is. Nice little silk screening on there. Very nice, very nice. And so yeah, this is actually a Raspberry Pi Pico, or it's like a modified Raspberry Pi Pico, which is very, very cool. And this doesn't have like all of the pins that the original chip does, which is why I know I need to be real careful about which way this goes in, but yeah. So there's a little mark on the socket here. I don't think you can see that from this camera angle. There's a little white dot. I'm pretty sure that's like pin 1 or something. And there is a 1 on that pin here, and a white dot. So I'm pretty confident this is going in the right way. Let's see how it goes. Seeding that. You're gonna go in, you're gonna be my friend. Don't be silly, you gotta work for this. Didn't think it would be that easy, did you? Oh. Okay, it wants to go in on that end. No, it doesn't. Did I bend anything? It did not bend anything. Okay. I am terrified. This is not... I haven't done something like this with pins in a very long time. It's been a long time since we build computers like this. All right, it's in. It's in the socket. You can see that. It's fully in. Whew, okay. I think we're all right. I think we're good. I don't know if this needs to be externally powered. There is a little USB. I think it's USB. Might be USB. Maybe that's not USB. I don't know. I gotta look it up because I'm not sure if this needs to be externally powered or not. I don't think it should, because there's power that goes to this. So yeah, there's 5 volt and there's a pin in the 5 volt. So hopefully this takes power from the motherboard, but I guess we'll see. So I'm gonna put the RF shielding back together. Basically, I'm just gonna go backwards over the steps we just did. I'm gonna fast forward the video through that because I want to get to the part where I'm looking at the case and deciding what to do. So I'm gonna keep shooting video, but I will fast forward through that. If there's anything weird that goes on, I'll stop and talk about it. But I'm just gonna go on through and just reverse all of the steps we just did. Okay, so 2 things. 1, yes, the metal heatsink block did have to come out in order to accommodate the Pico. And the other that I totally missed, and that I'm sure some of you were yelling at your screen about, was, what about the cables for the VGA connector, Kevin? What about that? So you should put those on before you put the RF shielding. If you are putting a Pico in, you need to put those on before you put the RF shielding back on. So what I've done is I've kind of snaked it around. Here, let me see if we can get a better shot of that. Oops. It's almost like I've never done this before. So here we go. I've connected it, put the RF shielding on, and then I've kind of snaked the cables around so they're just coming out, poking out next to the DIN connector here. Now, the interesting part is It looks like I will definitely have to do a case mod because there is no place for this connector to go. I was hoping maybe in the little cutout where the DIN connector is, I could kind of sneak the cables out through there, but it's just too tight. So I will have to take out, and I think we'll have to take a number of them out in order to get, because I'm gonna have to put the whole connector head through, because I had to connect it before I put the RF shielding on. So unfortunately, there's no way that I can think of it so I can get around that. So what I don't want to do, you can see here. So here's where the DIN connector sits, and these little metal clips here are what hold the aluminum, sort of cover onto the plastic. I don't want to cut anything around there, so I'm gonna take a Dremel and I'm gonna cut out just some of these slats back here. I will eventually mount this all nice and clean in the case. I just want to get this on to test it. So no matter what happens, I'm gonna have to do some kind of a case mod where I take out some of these little vented slats here. These are just like plastic, so these should come out fairly clean, or at least clean enough. So I'm gonna get the Dremel out and do that, and then we'll come right back. Safety first, kids. Take a look when you're working with power tools. All right, here we go. That's actually not too bad. You can, sorry, it's kind of weird to get on camera. That came out relatively clean. I can take a file and I'll clean up these edges and stuff. I could probably 3D print like a little bracket to go in there and make it all nice and tidy. So that'll work out pretty good. And that should be enough clearance to get the VGA connector through, but that's what we're gonna see about next. I'll take these safety glasses off and get rid of some of this plastic here. I'm gonna clean this up a little bit. There's a little bit of rough plastic around the edges and I don't want it rubbing against the wires and stuff. So I'm just gonna, it is seated. And I think that's gonna work pretty well. I should be able to get that nicely mounted in there. That's surprisingly good. Okay, I'm pleased with that. So now I'm just going to put the rest of the screws in. It is back in one piece with our dangling VGA connector. It will eventually sit quite nicely in that case. I'll measure this out and I'll 3D print a little VGA bracket to go in there, so it'll be all nice and tidy eventually. But first we need to test this. So I'm gonna cut the video here because I got a whole bunch of setup to do in the other room to get this to be able to be tested, and I guess I will be right back. All right, so here we are in my office with the slightly better microphone in the studio, and I have tested this. Everything is all set up, so there's, I know what's gonna happen, but I didn't want any nasty surprises. I didn't want the magic smoke to come out. So the big reveal, as it were. Here we go. And there we are. Look at that. Perfect and clean. And so the scan lines are put in by the Pico itself, but you can do a firmware update to remove them. I think I'm going to leave them in because you are getting closer to what the original TI video was intended to be seen like, obviously. So there we go. That's it. Now we'll and as you can see, the audio is coming through. The audio still goes out on the DIN connector, so that nothing has changed there. It's just the VGA is now going. The video signal is the VGA, not the DIN connector. I don't think the DIN connector even works anymore because you took that chip out. I'm not sure though. The Pico might actually do a pass through, so we'll see. Even if it is, it's still not worth. I'll put up a side by side of the two picture qualities later. But here, let's just for funsies, because we have to go into the final GROM here. Go into games. And if we're on the TI, there's only one real choice. The classic. Here we are. Good old Parsec. Check out Parsec here.
Press fire to begin.
Yes, I do. See, the speech synthesizer works. The obviously, if the final GROM is working, then the expansion card, the cartridge port works as well. And fire is what? Every single time I miss. I can't remember. Okay. Why is fire? I'm very bad at Parsec, FYI.
Laser on target.
When I was a kid, I never had the speech synth, so I never played Parsec with the speech synthesizer. It's weird.
Good shot.
Thank you, TI. Oh boy, there we go. Well, anyway, you get the gist.
Alert. Ships attacking.
Yeah, I know. Was it fun? See, it happened again. So that's what you know.
Alert.
Anyway,
Ships.
okay. Let's just reset that because I'm bad at Parsec. But there we go. Perfect. Everything just worked first time. So hopefully, if you are in the TI community and you're new to all this stuff and you do want to get better video out of your TI-99 4A, I've just got this hooked up to a simple VGA to HDMI that goes into a capture card and then it's getting captured by OBS. And so there we go. It's very, very simple, but very simple. It's very simple. Hopefully this video will be of some use to you because I like maybe you, I'm just bumbling around and don't really know what I'm doing. And if an idiot like me can do this, then you can too. And it's very cool. It's very neat. And so yeah, there we go. Let's go back to here. So there we go. Pixelsandpuppets.com if you want to check out our podcast that deals partly with puppets, but mostly with pixels. And yeah, there we go. I don't know where or when this video is going up. The intention is to have, so I know it's going up on the PeerTube server. I don't know that we are going to put it up on YouTube. I intend to put these up on YouTube. I'm just not sure where or when yet. We're still working on the details of that, but it will go up. It'll be up somewhere at some time for somebody to see it. So anyway, there we are. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope it's been of some use to somebody, and we will catch you later.